Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start out as we do by saying to Iceman, Jason, Javier, Fitz, McShane, El Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, to the guys from the Weather Report, to Billy G, to Walt from the B-Raw Podcast, to Kate the Duchess of New Jersey, to Boomer Bob, to George Fonts of the World Blaze Podcast, to Josh from New Hampshire, and to Bill from Clockham Craft Coffee. Thank you so much for your continued support. It means the world to me that you guys continue to feel the need to support me in my nonsense. So, anyway, hope everybody's doing well tonight. Hope everybody's staying warm, staying safe, staying sane, or at least as close as we can in today's trying times and situations. You know, there's really not a lot of preamble I'm going to put into this. It's just, let's just fucking get into it. I'm sure a lot of people are already expecting that this is what I'm going to talk about because it is probably one of the more significant things that happened over the course of in between the last episode and this episode. Now, it's a case of there's the elephant in the fucking room. First off, I hope you guys all enjoyed the guest episode that I put out with Tom Knighton and JD on Friday, or if you wanted to see the YouTube version, I know that didn't come out till yesterday. That's my own fault because I suck at video editing. Excuse me. And at the end of the day, it's just it's a bit more labor intensive to do video editing, obviously, and I'm still figuring out all the kinks. And I had a problem where the audio kept unsyncing from the video and looking terrible, so it took me like 2.5 days to figure that out beyond where I thought it was going to take me to do. But that's neither here nor there. If you want to go check out the video, it's on YouTube. If you want to go listen to the audio version, it's on all the platforms. And that is something I hope you guys will check out and appreciate. It was a really good time. It was a great conversation. JD and Tom and I went on for about 4 hours before we called it a night. So I did crop it down to a more manageable, like 2.5 hours. And that was mostly just chopping out things that I said that you guys have heard me say before. Because it's, so anytime I'm talking to somebody that's new, they wind up getting some of the same stories that you guys have all heard before because it's just part of it getting introduced to know me. So anyway, yeah, it's out there. Hope you guys check it out, enjoy it. So the like I said, the big thing, the elephant in the room, the bullshit I literally called that was going to happen is here. Actually, I'm going to adjust this a little bit just because I don't like that angle. Over the weekend, the ICE is still doing things in Minneapolis, and the liberal leftist clown show is still going on. I actually had some clips pulled up that I was going to do this, and then I had to reload my my Chrome tabs, and so I didn't have time to go through and find them all again. So yeah, over the course of the last week since the last episode where we were talking about how things were going to get escalated, things are going to get worse, things are going to get out of hand, something stupid's going to happen, and it's going to cost everybody in this country more than these fucking liberal retards seem to realize. And I hate the fact that I was right. So on Saturday, a libtard, leftist, whatever you want to call these fucking people, like I said, I kind of hate referring to these people as liberals because I used to be considered very liberal just because I thought people should be left the fuck alone and live their lives how they wanted to. And the fact that the left just kept moving so far left that they can't really fairly be considered liberal anymore, and they're just fucking whack jobs. But that's a whole different soapbox for another day. The fact of the matter is, and I say this and I said it last week, I'm a staunch Second Amendment abso-fucking-lutist. I believe everyone has the right to carry a firearm as long as they're, behaving legally with it, when they're acting fucking sane and intelligent and rational. The problem is most of these fucking NPC leftist retards that are going to these protests are not sane or rational or acting in a way that would indicate they were anything that you should really feel comfortable having armed, which, puts me in a position of I don't believe guns should only be possessed by people who I agree with, because I believe, like I said, Second Amendment absolutist. We have a God-given inherent right to be able to defend ourselves. The problem comes into play when you get situations like happened in Minneapolis where are you defending yourself or are you going there to stir up shit? And the problem is, so this guy goes to, I already forgot his fucking name, something Pretty, Alex Pretty, I think. Anyway, skinny, pencil-necked fucking hipster douchebag looking guy, was a nurse at the VA, which, I mean, that's kind of irrelevant to the situation, but, at the same time, I've noticed a lot of nurses and medical professionals, not in like doctor capacity, but a lot of liberal fucktard people seem to be working in the healthcare field, which does not make me feel better about that particular field, because these people, and I've said it repeatedly, and I'm not going to back down from this stance, they don't value life when it involves anybody that does not fit their standard, when it's not anybody that, toes their line, that shares their beliefs. They are some of the most detached, soulless, heartless motherfuckers that try to do things under the guise of fucking empathy, which is a fucking joke. They don't actually believe in, human life or values beyond people that they agree with. You want to, fact check that. Go on any social media platform and say something that a leftist individual will find offensive. If you get any kind of traction behind it, you're going to be insulted. You're going to be berated. These are not people that want to peacefully coexist. They want you and everyone who thinks anything remotely like you destroyed, because their ideology can't accept or tolerate dissenting opinions or beliefs. Now, to somebody like me who prefers to think of things rationally from a perspective of logic, that shows that you have a flawed belief or a weak value that you are trying to espouse and you're trying to build your life around. Because if your ideals can't stand up to fucking to fucking contrary opinions, beliefs, or other things, it's a case of if you can't stand up to critique or dissent, and without needing to utterly destroy it because anything that calls your beliefs into question is obviously bad, maybe your belief structure's flawed. But anyway, that's really not where I'm trying to go with this. The point was, so this guy was in the Minneapolis riots. I'm not going to call them protests because they're not fucking protests at this point. And he wound up getting shot to death by ICE agents. Basically, while he was in custody, they had removed his firearm from his person when he was shot. There's a lot of controversy going back and forth. People are trying to say that, he had it coming and all this other shit. I don't necessarily agree with that, which may surprise some people. It's not that I feel that I don't feel any sympathy or empathy for him for various reasons. I mean, it's a shame he's dead. I don't want people dying over this stupid shit, particularly not the ones who somehow think they're the good guys for trying to defend interfering with targeted ICE actions. ICE is a legal government entity. It needs to exist to defend the borders of this nation. These people don't like that. They're open border communist fuckheads. So it's a case of they're interfering, and the people that ICE were targeting in this particular raid were a rapist, a pedophile, and I believe a gang member that was already on, and all these people were already understanding deportation orders. It's not like they were just randomly snatching people up off the street and these liberal retards happened to show up and interfere with it. This was a coordinated effort through an organization with 1,000-member signal chat that was actually apparently being headed by the lieutenant governor of the state of Minnesota. So, like, literal insurrection at this point. But again, that's not the point. The thing I want to talk about is this fucking ICU VA nurse that got himself shot. And the simple fact of the matter is, I think it's a terrible thing. Like I said, I don't wish people dead just for holding beliefs I don't agree with, until they decide they're holding their beliefs that I don't agree with means I should die, at which point, fuck you. And, if it comes down to me or you, it's going to be fucking you. And I'm not saying this guy deserved to die because he was armed, because I don't believe that either. Just carrying a gun should not be an excuse for people to fucking, murder you in the streets. Now, on the other side of that coin, I believe, under my belief of Second Amendment staunch support, that you have to be responsible if you are going to carry a firearm on your person. And part of that involves not putting yourself into situations where the police may feel that they have a justification to put hot lead in your ass. I mean, I literally do not leave my fucking house without a gun. Period. Full stop. The end. I don't take the dog out to go to the bathroom without a fucking gun on me. And partly because it's my right as an American to go about armed. I'm not a criminal. I don't need to be, disarmed. I'm not a threat to the general population. I carry purely for self-defense reasons. I don't go out with the intention of stirring up shit. I don't go out looking to start trouble. I don't go out saying I see somebody doing something I don't like because I don't like it, I'm going to shoot them, which seems to be the popular mentality coming out of the liberal retards. But like I said, that does not mean this guy deserved to get shot for it. And he was shot a lot. They shot the fuck out of this guy. And then they tried to justify it saying he was carrying a gun. Well, you know what? I carry a gun too. I've got caught up in unintentional fucking protests where I just happened to be in the wrong place in the wrong time, and there was a crowd of people there in my fucking way, stopping me from going about where I was going. And I had a gun on me. So yes, I've had a gun at a protest before. It's not... Does that mean I should be dead? No, it doesn't. But here's where the difference comes in. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not even saying it's justified. But I don't have a lot of empathy for this fucking guy being deceased, being an ex-person, being no longer on the mortal coil, not being in a position of being able to justify what he was doing there with the gun. And I have a problem with the way both sides are trying to spin the narrative, because the spin machine is definitely spooled up on both sides. The immediate statements coming out of the fucking government, the administration, from Kash Patel, from fucking Kristi Noem, any of the people that were administering statements for this have already shit the bed, dropped the ball, fucked the dog, however you want to explain it. The problem is that all of these fucking people, left and right, are not worried about what actually happened or what went down. And it's a case of this guy made a series of bad fucking decisions that put him in a position where he wound up losing his life. And I have no sympathy for him because it was a conscious, active activity. Problem I have with it is the people who actually should be held responsible for it, like the so-called leadership of the left, really don't fucking care that they're just spewing all this inflammatory rhetoric that is going to get these people killed. They want them to die so they can have martyrs to point to. And it's a shit situation. They're lying saying ICE is deporting citizens. They're lying saying that people are being disappeared off the fucking streets. And their followers who basically worship at the altar of the state, they want, as long as their side's in charge, they want to believe it. It's not just that they're being, spoon-fed bullshit and they can't help but take in the truth because, the people I chose to align with said this. And I've had the capacity for critical thought beat out of me, whether it be through a college education or just, a failed public school education or however else you want to look at it, where these motherfuckers, it's not just that they believe it, it's that they want to fucking believe it because it lends validity to the bullshit narrative that they think is going to somehow make them important or special or fucking relevant. Now, did this guy carry his gun every fucking day like I do? I have no idea. Did he carry his gun because he knew he was going to a protest and he was convinced some shit was going to pop off and he was going to be the main character all of a sudden? It's possible. I mean, I've seen pictures of the guy. He did not look like anything other than a weak tea, low tea, soy-fed, beta cuck sack of shit. Did he have a job that was probably a good job? Yeah, he did. Doesn't mean he was a good person. I don't know shit about the guy, and I probably never will. I really doubt that all the truth is ever going to come out about this guy in his private life. His family and his side is going to try and spin him as some fucking heroic angel, and the other side's going to try and fucking demonize him, and the truth, as usual, is probably somewhere in the fucking middle, dying in the dark. So I reserve judgment on what happened. Was it a good shoot? Was it a bad shoot? I don't know. It might be one of those fucking legal but awful situations where it's like, it's a case of he was definitely an aggressor in the situation, and the left is trying to say, well, he was over there trying to help the woman that ICE pushed down. Yeah, that's fine. They were aware that he was armed, and he got shoved down too. And they're saying, oh, well, he was just trying to help her up. He was interfering with ICE officers fulfilling their legal duties, as was she. That's how she wound up on the fucking ground, and he inserted himself into that situation. Now, they had him disarmed. From what I can see, from everything I've seen of this point, they had him disarmed at that point, and he went for his phone. Now, that is a problem. It's just one of our societal fucking defaults at this point is I'm going to grab my phone and stick it in somebody's face to fucking try and justify my fucking behaviors. And that's a problem, because when you've already been disarmed by a law enforcement officer, you don't make sudden movements towards your pockets or waistline, because they are going to assume that you might have another weapon, be it a knife or another gun or tear gas or a fucking bomb. You're in a situation where it's high adrenaline, high emotion, and you've already been flagged as an aggressive individual. You don't perform in manners that continue to be aggressive and belligerent and expect to come out on the other side whole and intact. It's just not good thinking. And we're not seeing a lot of good thinking from the left. And I guarantee the leadership, while they bemoan this shit publicly and talk about how they need to get ICE out now and this is going to keep happening, not a single one of them is taking any responsibility for the matter that they ginned all this bullshit up. You want proof of that, all you need to do is look at the fact that this is only happening in Minneapolis. ICE is in operation all around the fucking country, picking people up and deporting them and moving them out to ship them on their fucking way. The only place where these violent incidences are happening is in the one where the governor is literally at the locked gate of his fucking mansion with a bullhorn telling people to keep up the resistance and to keep doing what they're doing. Where they have actively issued stand down orders to the local police department telling them do not add any support to the law activities of ICE. Do not do anything. Do not respond to any calls. Do not contain these fucking riots. Again, I'm not calling them protests. They have been ordered to stand down. They have been told not to comply, not to cooperate with federal agencies. You have a mayor who has told the police department to stand down as well. Again, it's compounding the acts that when there is no legal check valve to keep things in line, things are going to escalate. And then they're pouring out inflammatory rhetoric, and it's coming out of every deep blue stronghold in the fucking country at this moment. My jelly-bellied fuck-muppet governor, the fucking Hershey kiss-headed fuck-stained mayor of Chicago, the CTU, which God only knows why these dumb fucks think they have any fucking dog in this fight when they're not bitching about the fact that billionaires aren't paying enough of the CTU's bill, which, by the way, for anybody that's not in the local area and doesn't understand this, Chicago Teachers Union, the people that got Brandon Johnson elected as the fucking mayor of Chicago, currently represent 56% of the city's budget. They have not put out a graduating class that tested at level in over a decade. They are utterly incompetent, and they are running at a deficit despite having a $56 billion with a B dollar budget. And they're complaining that the billionaires aren't paying their fair share into the coffers, and they need more money for the kids. So, but what were they doing this weekend? The president of the CTU, her fucking lieutenant, and a couple other fat cunts were all in Minnesota protesting with ICE. So, this is not organic. This is not the people are fed up and need representation. This is a manufactured fucking crisis that is being escalated by deliberate actions from representatives of the fucking government. You have a governor that's encouraging this shit. You have a lieutenant governor that's encouraging this shit and coordinating this shit. You have utterly fucking ridiculous morons in every facet of every blue section of this fucking country insisting upon this is the right behavior and it needs to keep happening. And if people keep dying, that's on the fault of the fucking people securing our borders, not on the fault of all the childish fucking juvenile retards who think since they are doing what their leaders told them is the good thing, they are somehow going to be exempt from consequences for their fucking actions. It's the retards that are out there saying, hey, you know what? We have the right to protest, so you can't tell us we can't do this, that are considering their right to protest things like breaking windows, vandalizing property, lighting fires, lighting vehicles on fires, pulling people out of their vehicles because they think they might be affiliated with ICE. None of those are protests. Those are crimes, and you are a fucking criminal. You have a right to carry a firearm to defend yourself. I will die defending someone else's right to be armed. I fully and completely believe in the Second fucking Amendment. I believe every single gun law is an infringement. I believe, I mean, hell, I'll explain to you where I think about this. I think if someone does their crime, does their time, they should be allowed to go through the process to retain their rights to get back into owning a firearm legally. I believe in constitutional carry. The people who were saying, well, he didn't have his ID on him, so he wasn't allowed to carry his gun to that protest. I'm looking at you here, Kash Patel, you fucking idiot. Yeah, I believe in constitutional carry. I don't believe he should have to fucking pay a fee to the state every time he wants to exercise his right to defend himself. The problem comes in what you do with those things. Just like a protest, it stops being a protest when you start committing crimes. Being armed stops being for self-defense when you start waving your gun around or acting like a jackass. And it's not like ICE just magically could tell he had a gun. It was drawn and exposed at some point. Or he was open carrying, which I don't know what the laws of Minnesota are. If the laws of Minnesota are that he's open carrying, it becomes a problem where he decided to go interfere with the ICE agents doing their duty and then deciding he was going to, have main character syndrome. Again, I'm not happy he's dead. I wish he wasn't dead. I wish he was in fucking court answering for why he didn't have his ID on him while he had the gun. So he could explain and, maybe get his little misdemeanor fucking penalty for not having his proper paperwork in order, which, that would be fine. But he's not. He's fucking worm food. He's never going to be able to explain or make excuses for what he did. And like I said, I'm not happy about it. I don't have a lot of fucking empathy for it either, purely because his decisions put him in that situation. I believe in your right to protest. I believe that when you don't think things are going the way they should, you should be able to voice your opinions without fear of retribution from the government for doing those things. At the end of the day, long and the short of it is, you should be able to do those things. But there's also things you can do to vastly increase your odds of survival if you want to do those things. One of which being, if you know you got a gun on you, you don't go by the cops and try and act like a dick. And again, like I said, I don't think this was a good shoot. The only thing that has me possibly questioning what happened is the footage from all the angles, every video I've seen of the situation. They had him on the ground, they're patting him down. You can't see real good what happened, but he moved. Like I said, I've heard that he was going for his phone and they took that as he was reaching for something else and shot his ass, because they already had his primary firearm in custody at that point. But there is a woman who you can see in the background of literally every video you can find of this incident wearing a bright pink fucking jacket who was recording this shit from maybe 10 feet away. And it's probably the best footage you can see of what happened, and it's nowhere to be seen. I've been actively looking for this shit all day, and I have not been able to find it. And I feel like if it was clearly showing that ICE acted in the wrong, it would be all over the place. If it showed that he went for his waist or something like that, probably be scrubbed and never be seen again. Point being, like I said, based on what I've seen thus far, I'm not willing to call it a good shoot. I'm not going to say this guy deserved to get fucking capped. And that's just the long and the short of it. And like I said, I'm not happy with the way either side is fucking spinning it, because the left is trying to paint him as some fucking martyr who was there being heroic and standing up for the shit upon people. And he was trying to de-escalate the ICE agents, shoving that poor innocent woman down because she was definitely just there minding her own fucking business and not being obnoxious. And all those miserable fucking cunts that are walking around blowing their fucking whistles is a case of, and by the way, I've got my own irritation just from going through these video feeds today, trying to figure out where I stood on this thing. Because I don't like going off half-cocked and just rallying my fucking mouth about, not having enough information to make a good call. So I watched a lot of videos today of this shit. And these fucking retards, everybody knows ICE is there. There's no reason for you to keep blowing your goddamn raid whistles. There's not. Those fucking whistles do nothing but escalate irritation and make what is already a tense situation even more uncomfortable. And if you're in a position where you already suspect your life might be in danger for doing your fucking job, it's going to make you edgier. Again, I'm not justifying what happened to this fucking guy. I'm not saying it was right or even that it was okay. I'm saying it can be expected. It's a case of you keep adding fuel to the fire and you get surprised when shit happens. And I have a problem with that. I take issue with the people that are acting like, oh my God, we can't believe they acted like this. They're not fucking robots. They're not, conditioned to be able to just ignore you being a miserable fucking cunt to them. They're people, just like you and me. They react to stress. They may be better about how they deal with stress than your average person due to training and conditioning. But at the end of the day, that shit wears on people. It drives people to the point where they're going to start being aggressive and hostile. And the people that are telling these fucking retards to do it are well goddamn aware of it. That's what I take an issue with, is the left, while bemoaning this happening, is doing everything they fucking can to generate this situation. When you spend months dehumanizing a specific group of people by comparing them to the worst fucking criminals in the history of our fucking culture, when you constantly refer to them as everything that just goes against, freedom and democracy and yada, 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 because they're fascists, they're Nazis, they're fucking horrible people. They, kick babies and fucking... They punt puppies into fucking wood chippers because they're just monsters because they're enforcing the fucking law. Law that was put into place by bipartisan action. So it's not like it was just all of a sudden the golden dusted god got into office and all of this shit became He just said with a sweep of his wand, this is all illegal and now everyone must be gone and I'm going to use my secret police and my Gestapo to do this. And it pisses me off because if it were actually a case of being as bad as every one of these leftist shitheads that are instigating these retarded fucks to do this stuff were saying it is, they wouldn't be able to do this shit. They'd be getting black-bagged in the middle of the night, never to be fucking heard from again. These protests would be getting put down with lethal force every time they started to gather because that's how fucking fascism works. It's not you're allowed to say your piece and you're allowed to show up and be a miserable, irritating cunt, and then the governor's going to order the National Guard to bring you coffee and donuts and chalky milk so you can be comfortable while you're out there telling ICE that they're shitheads. They are going to come in. I mean, like I read something earlier today, and again, it was one of those tabs where I didn't get to keep it up because I, had technical difficulties 5 minutes before I start the show, because of course I did. And it's a case of, if things were really as bad as all these leftist retards want to say they are, you wouldn't know about it. You wouldn't hear about it. They would be disappearing in the night. They would be getting put down violently everywhere they fucking turned up. They would not be online protesting and bitching. They would not be filming TikToks and fucking Instagram reels showing how much they're standing up to these fascist Nazi bastards. They would be getting black bagged and fucking taken out of the equation, and it would be over with. That's it. These fucking retards would not be going out trashing hotels because they think feds are there. They would not be going out there and just causing problems without consequence. They would not be bold enough to be doing this shit because none of these people are ballsy resistance fighters or whatever narrative it is they've painted in their delusional fucking minds. Writ large, they're fucking stupid and they're fucking cowards. They are causing property damage because they think people are doing things that they don't like. They are fucking attacking civilians because they think they might be ICE because they're in an SUV. They are coming from out of state to come here because they feel justified in saying, hey, I care more about what's going on to these fucking criminals than I do about my own fucking life. They are bringing their children, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, I honestly don't believe leftists have any sort of sense of family and they see children as a fucking accessory, not as a fucking human being. It makes me physically fucking nauseous the way some of these fucking people do things. And it's a case of, I don't understand how they think this is going to work for them. And my biggest concern with things is right now the fucking worthless ass opposition, for lack of a better thing to put it, because as everyone knows, I don't have any faith in either side of the fucking aisle. The fucking swamp rats, the uniparty, whatever it is. If they cave now, there's never going to be any coming back from this. There is not going to be a return of sanity without a massively bloody cost. Right now, there's 2 dead people as a consequences of this bullshit. If they say, okay, you're right, we're going to pull ICE back and we're going to come out and we're going to just let the illegals stay. We're going to fucking build a wall around Minnesota and you assholes can have it. That is going to tell the left and every last one of these slack-jawed fucking inbred retard motherfuckers that they're defending, this is what you do to get your fucking way. This is how you get the W, is you act like an asshole until you force them to act in retaliation, and then you cry victim. You know how I know? Because that's been their playbook for years. They're just getting more committed to it at this point. The entire swamp is more than willing to fucking play these things. I mean, they don't give a shit about these people that they're trying to canonize in death for, oh, well, he was a hero. Oh, she was just there she was a mom and she died because she was just trying to leave the scene and that wicked bad ICE guy shot her for hitting him with his car. And like I said, I would have more sympathy for people getting shot if they weren't acting in such a fucking stupid manner in the first place. It infuriates me. I don't celebrate people dying just because I don't agree with them. I do, however, have no empathy for people that die due to completely avoidable circumstances. I go out of my way not to put myself in situations where I could die unless I absolutely fucking have to. And usually those circumstances are not of my own fucking making. Now I'm saying usually because I'm far from perfect. I've done some genuinely dumb shit over my life that has definitely put my life in jeopardy a time or two. I have done some things. I've made some poor choices. I've put myself into a couple situations where, by the grace of whatever gods may be and by my own fucking mouth, I managed to work my way out of them without getting fucking put in the hospital or put in a fucking box. But at the end of the day, maybe it's just wrong of me to expect that kind of thing from these people. Maybe I really am just that much better than everybody else. I've been told recently that I'm a narcissist and that I'm an asshole and that I think I'm better than everybody else. And you know what? I don't know about everybody else, but I think I'm better than a lot of fucking people because I prioritize things differently. I don't sit here and think that the world owes me the right to be happy. I know that if I want to be happy, I have to go out and earn it. I don't think that the world owes me grace when I do something fucking stupid. I believe if I do something stupid, I'm going to have to saddle the consequences of that fucking action. So when I see this shit happen, it infuriates me, and that's why I'm mean about these people. That's why I don't have empathy. I don't have sympathy. I don't feel bad that they took themselves out of the equation through fucking poor decisions. I'm not happy that they're dead. I just don't feel bad about it either. That's where I stand on these things. Now, to address the other part of the problem I have with this situation, and like I said, this is exactly what I fucking said was going to happen. Kash Patel, who has been an utterly fucking disappointing individual as the director of the FBI, he comes out in a press conference after the shooting happens and says, well, and it is echoed by every right-wing talking head on the fucking planet that is just infuriates me. Oh, well, he had a military-style pistol and he had 51 rounds of ammunition. So the fuck what? First off, military-style pistol is stupid gun-grabbing language, and nobody that's claiming to be 2A should be using that fucking phrasing at fucking all. Being able to carry the same weapons as what the military has is the entire fucking point. I believe I should be able to walk around with a 40 mic and fucking, grenades if I fucking want to, as long as I'm not acting like an asshole with them. But, so they start talking about high-capacity magazines, which realistically are, in modern terms, standard capacity magazines, unless you live in a fucking communist shithole state like I do, where they are banned magazines. So he had a pair of 21-round magazines plus one in the fucking gun with one in the pipe. big fucking deal. I carry fucking 27 rounds of ammunition with me every time I leave the fucking house, and I have a 9-round magazine because I carry a subcompact and I live in fucking Illinois. So I can't have a double stack that carries more than 15 rounds. If I have a full-size firearm on me, it's got 15 rounds in it plus one in the pipe because that's as much as I'm allowed to legally carry. And as much as I disagree with the law, I'm not going to go out of my way of breaking it just to be a fucking dick. Because that opens me up to a vulnerability. I may not agree with it, but that's the reality of the situation. So when I'm carrying, whether I'm carrying compact or I'm carrying full size, it's always got to be concealed because we don't have open carry in Illinois. So if I'm carrying, and believe me, I'm always fucking carrying, it's one of a couple guns, and I'm carrying a limited amount of ammunition because them's the rules where I fucking live. So, and it is, I'm not happy with the fact that the fucking, supposedly the most Second Amendment friendly administration ever to exist, which is utter fucking horseshit. If it was true, they wouldn't have appointed Bondi as a fucking attorney general. But I'm not going to get back up on that soapbox. I think she's utterly fucking worthless, and I've thought that since before she was confirmed, and I still think it now because she's done nothing to change my fucking mind. At the end of the day, I do live within the constrictions of where I am, for the most part. I'm not saying I have anything that's illegal. What I am saying is I don't agree with the laws that exist. But I follow them. When I leave the house, I'm carrying multiple magazines because, yeah, I don't think carrying 50 rounds is fucking insane. Now, to be fair, statistically speaking, most defensive gun actions involving a firearm, you're probably not even going to need that second mag. But better safe than sorry. My general philosophy is I'm not worried about, standard... I don't carry extra mags because I'm concerned about standard, defensive gun use where I might, if somebody's threatening my life with a knife and I have to pull a gun, where they will probably subsequently run away because most criminals are fucking cowards at the long and the short of it. If you take the fucking momentum away from them, they will flee. But it's a case of I started being more concerned about carrying extra mags because of brain-dead leftist retards thinking they can do things like block traffic and pull people out of their fucking vehicles for driving something where they think it might possibly be somebody who's doing something they don't agree with. Because they've decided that, rules for me, not for thee. I'm allowed to say and do whatever the fuck I want, but if you don't agree with me, you're a bad person, and everything up to and including your death is completely acceptable. The same party that is trying to bemoan a fucking broad getting shot in her car for interfering with ICE and hitting an ICE agent, or a guy getting shot at a fucking, what was literally obstruction of the arrest of a fucking pedophile rapist. You want to bemoan those people and call them heroes, but, Charlie Kirk gets shot in the neck for the crime of holding an opinion you don't say and having a platform that was effective because he talked to people and he treated them like equals. He never talked down to people he didn't fucking, get. I didn't care for the guy, but I'm just honest enough to give him the credit he's due. I didn't care for him. He was a little too fucking pious and preachy for my particular stance. But at the end of the day, he was fair to people. He was honest. He was forthright. And he spoke reasonably. And he gave them a chance to rebut what he would say and to voice their opinions. And they shot him and then celebrated him getting shot because they all believed the hype that he was this horrible, racist motherfucker because they believe whatever bullshit they're fed by their fucking chosen masters. It's utterly disgusting to me. So, hearing the same rhetoric that was coming out of the left, coming out of the right now because a fucking leftist retard showed up with a gun, it just doesn't sit well with me. It irritates the fuck out of me. And it's a bunch of judgy fucking cunt rags, and I can't stand any of them. But, I kind of lost my train of thought here, other than, Pam Bondi being a massive disappointment. Kash Patel saying something that was possibly one of the stupidest fucking things I've ever said. Oh, yeah, and let's talk for a second about the fucking gun this guy was carrying. So, the gun was immediately, posted on social media. Here's a picture. This guy was carrying a gun. Here's the extra magazines. Here's his fucking 50 rounds. And, like I said, it was a SIG P320. It was effectively, I have the same fucking gun. I don't have the same ammunition capacity because I can't have the same magazines in the state of Illinois that he's allowed to have in fucking Minnesota. But I have the military version. He has the civilian version. He had a red dot sight on it. He had a flashlight on it, and he had the extended magazines. So Kash Patel comes out, calls it a military-style pistol. It's a case of, no, you fucktard. It's a fucking gun. It has a holographic sight on it. That doesn't make it military style. The holographic sights are by and wide way more common than they used to be. They've become very price point affordable if you're in that particular thing. You can get one that'll fucking work off a Temu for like 30 fucking bucks if you're into Chinese knockoffs. I mean, they're usually worth the extra money to buy a good one. The one I have is from Sig Sauer. Again, came with the gun I got. Ironically enough, I got the Sig after the controversies with all the negligent discharge, accidental discharge, all that shit happened. And I won it in a contest, and it was free. But anyway, that's not the point. Point is, so the gun this guy had when he was shot, with the accessories, the ammunition, and the fucking extra magazines, between $1,700 and $2,000 worth of hardware this guy was walking around with. Not something that anyone who's really well-versed in firearms would be carrying these days due to the current issues with SIGs accidentally discharging without having the trigger pulled, which I've actually heard floated as what could be what set the whole thing off, is when the agent was fucking holding the pistol. Now, this is one of those things that's not really very responsible reporting when people are saying it as if it was facts. I don't know if it was facts, but it's not outside the realm of possibility that the agent was holding the gun and it discharged because he was holding it by the slide, which I've seen on video can happen if it's got dirt in it, if it's not properly maintained. There's a little pin inside that if there's enough stuff blocking it, like over a 0.5 millimeter, it will actually discharge without having the trigger pulled. But at this point, like I said, I don't believe either fucking side. I don't trust either fucking side. I'm not happy with the narrative out of either fucking side, because the White House and the administration, instead of just saying, look, this is fucked up, we're going to look into it, they come out, oh, well, this happened and that happened, and the initial reports were, verifiably not accurate just based on the initial video out there. Maybe there's video that we haven't seen yet. Maybe we haven't seen body cam footage yet that vindicates everything that happened. Doesn't matter. In terms of whether or not it's a legal shoot, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But you get into a more sticky area there, because you don't necessarily have to have a gun in your hand to be considered a threat, because after you've already established that you're armed and willing to do harm or danger, you become a threat there. And there's a case where they can, if you're reacting in a certain manner, they could actually say, well, we thought he was going for another weapon. We thought he might be going for, tear gas or bear mace or fucking, a bomb. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that can happen in that kind of escalated situation. Do I think it was right? No. Do I think it was fucking warranted? No. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, like I said, the motherfucker shouldn't have gotten shot, but I don't have a lot of empathy for him because he put himself into a situation where that was a very real fucking possibility. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it just, doesn't make it fair, but right, just, and fair are just words in a fucking book at the end of the day, because the reality of the matter is what it fucking is. So that's kind of where I'm at on this situation. That's the big thing that's been rolling around. And of course, there's other shit going on. The left was screaming that ICE was using a kid as leverage to get somebody to come out and saying they seized a 5-year-old. Reality of the matter is the kid's dad was a fucking illegal. ICE pulled him over because he had a standing deportation order because he broke the fucking law, and he fled and left the kid there. ICE took the kid into custody and basically babysat him for a few hours, and then contacted the child's mother and additional family and told her, we're not going to deport you. Do you want to take your child into custody? Do you want your kid? And she said no. She said, I don't bring the kid. I don't want the kid. So they kept the child with his father after the father was picked up after fleeing. Once they seized the guy who's under the deportation order, they did what they do with every family. They said, do you want to leave your kid with somebody here that you trust, or are you bringing him with you? And his mom said she's not taking him. Is there somebody else you can leave the kid with? And he said, no, I'll take the kid with me. The left immediately spins this into they leveraged the child to get the father to surrender and a bunch of other shit. Again, Either side's talking, they're probably fucking lying at this point. But the facts is the facts. And if you don't believe it's the facts, you can look at how ICE has been performing in every other situation anywhere else in the country. And there is a plethora of evidence of this is how they do things. It doesn't fit the narrative, so the media is not going to talk about it. It doesn't push a fucking agenda, so the fucking left isn't going to fucking talk about it. It's realistically, it's not going to sway anybody that's on the right to go, yeah, hey, I definitely agree with this more now. I really think they've probably actually alienated some people because with how they've handled their reaction to this shooting, because that's not what people voted for to get this administration in office. And I've said it a couple of weeks running now here. The golden fucking one has apparently forgotten that a lot of people didn't pick him because he's the anointed one, but they picked him because they realized the alternative was fucking worse. And he's not living up to the fucking, the pitch he sold. I mean, I definitely don't think this administration is living up to what they said was going to happen. Congress is definitely failing left, right, and fucking center to fucking, work with this administration to do what the fucking people want because they don't fucking care. And it's just infuriating to me that either side wants to act like they're somehow right or just for their fucking stances when literally both sides are fucking cunts. You've got the extremes are getting too extreme. There was a time when people could say, you know what, I don't agree with you, but we can still be civil to each other. But it seems like both sides have gotten to that whole, like, you're with me or I'm going to fucking destroy you. And I'm not okay with that. I just want to be left alone, have my guns, have my food, and live my fucking life and let everybody else live theirs. And there was a time when that was the American ideal. These people who are bitching and moaning about how unfair it is that all these fucking illegals are getting let out, and it's how horrible ICE is. ICE is the Gestapo for fucking coming along and enforcing our border laws that were neglected for the last fucking administration, where they just said, hey, come on in. No, you don't need to prove you have a right to be here. And I honestly believe Tim Walz and his fucking cronies are actually amplifying this to try and distract from the fraud investigation that hopefully is still ongoing despite all of this extra nonsense, because they're two different divisions of the government and they should be able to operate independently of each other. And I really hope we see Timmy doing a fucking perk walk pretty soon, because that fucking retard pisses me off for so many fucking reasons. But at the end of the day, like I said, all of these assholes who are out here running their mouths now about how inhumane this is and how fucking horrible it is, they didn't say shit because, Obama deported more people than the Trump administration has. The Trump administration isn't on pace to deport as many people as the Obama administration did. Tom Holman, the fucking, the fucking pit bull of immigration as far as this administration is concerned, he got a medal from Obama for the work he did in the same capacity doing the same fucking job. So it's, oh, well, this guy died in custody because ICE is neglecting him. Well, he had a chronic health condition when you were arrested. There's a chance you're going to fucking die. Oh, well, this person didn't get proper medical attention. No, it's a case of that person had a shitty situation, and sometimes people just fucking die. That doesn't change the fact that they're criminals. It doesn't change the fact that they're here illegally. It doesn't change the fact that they need to fucking go. And this, suicidal empathy and something else I've noticed, all these fucking protests, not necessarily the ones in Minnesota, although the ones in Minnesota are just as bad, but all these fucking protests, you don't see, black people out there. You don't see a lot of brown people out there. It's fucking white liberal motherfuckers. The bane of this fucking culture, the death knell for Western civilization is going to be white fucking liberals. And I fucking hate them. I hate the fucking pompous smugness. I hate how they think that their values are somehow, the same retards who have completely destroyed the efficacy of the term Nazi or fascism or fucking racism or any of the other things that should be used to call out actual heinous fucking actions and heinous fucking beliefs that are now meaningless because of how overused and how misapplied they've been by this self-righteous bunch of college-educated fuckstains who realistically couldn't survive 20 minutes without somebody sitting there keeping them from licking a fucking wall outlet. They're utterly educated fucking retards, and it makes me fucking sick. They mistake their fucking indoctrination for intelligence, and then they are so smug and pompous in how they go around telling people how to live, how to believe, and what sort of values they should hold if they want to be considered, right or good or somehow better than others because, oh my God, I have a college education, so I must be smarter than you because I believe that men can get pregnant and women have fucking dicks. These fucking retards make me sick. I hate them all. And it's infuriating that the fucking power structure of the left is fully aware of what they've created and have zero compunctions about throwing them at this shit so they can maintain their fucking stranglehold, so they can continue to push their horse shit, globalist and bullshit, so they can make people like Gavin Newsom and fuck Muppet Pritzker think that they're better than they are because they fucking stumbled into fucking wealth they don't deserve and fucking power they are unworthy of. And it fucking infuriates me. And that's pretty much where I'm at as far as this goes. So I'm going to open things up to the chat, do the little standard 2-minute lag here. So I'm going to sit here and wait and see if you guys have anything you want me to expound upon or any thoughts you want to contribute. I don't know how much conversation's been going on in the chat because I kind of have it scrolled back. I see several comments from Bob here. I see, hey, John's in the chat. Hi, John. I hope you feel better soon, man. I hope this all gets straightened out. Missed you tonight. If you're still here, I don't know if you're still here. This comment's from a while back. Lisa's in the chat. Boomer Bob's in the chat. Duchess is in the chat. Ken's here. Hey, Ken, I agree with you. Repeal all gun laws. Cody's here. Hi, Cody. McShane of Razor Wire News is here. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Hope things are good. Or at least he was here. Again, I don't know where we're at. Oh, hey, Mike. Good to see you're here, too. Do I have any good recipes using the supplies that the Minnesota National Guard is dropping off to rioters? No, Lisa, I don't have any good recipes using pre-cooked donuts and juice boxes because I'm pretty sure and coffee. I think that's what I heard they were getting. And frankly, I don't want those fucking people to have good recipes. I want them to eat what they're given because I don't think people like that should be allowed near open flames. I do have a recipe for tonight, though, and it's a good one. At least I think it's a good one. You guys might. This one might be a little bit more of a acquired taste kind of thing, but it is a good recipe. Okay, let's see. McShane says, any thoughts on Barry Weiss getting a hit piece written on her by Variety the same week CBS posted its highest number since 2021? I think that CBS has been straying from the fucking the line a little bit because they've realized that they're fucking that they're not getting market share anymore because the mainstream media is dying and they're in panic mode. And I think Variety attacking them for that is, I mean, it's mainstream media sucks. Cody said it here too. The mainstream media is turning on CBS because CBS is no longer towing the party fucking line as near as I can tell. So, yeah, let's see. Ken also always has a piece when at a protest. Completely legal. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's not about the carrying a piece at a protest. It's about your intent behind it. Whether you're trying to make a statement about the Second Amendment or if you're trying to fucking, make sure that something bad doesn't happen to you. But the problem is when you're there breaking the law, carrying a piece has slightly more sinister connotations. Again, like I said, I don't think the guy deserved to get fucking plugged for it the way he did. And it kind of sucks. But at the same time, my empathy for these people is wiped out through their own actions. So I don't really have a lot of sympathy for the situation. So anyway, if nobody else has anything else to say, I'm going to do tonight's recipe. And I hope I didn't give you guys this once before, although the more I think about it, I feel like I might have, but it's not on the website. Let's see. How do I feel about Notch saying Hi, Javi. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us, buddy. How do I feel about Notch saying if purchasing games isn't ownership, then privacy isn't theft? Or I think that should say piracy because he's right. I feel like Notch is... he's had some controversy over the years, but I respect the guy because I agree with it. If you don't own things you purchase, then stealing it ain't a crime either. Because if nobody owns it, then there is no theft. So yeah, I completely agree with Notch on that one. He's made some statements over the years. I haven't necessarily always agreed with him, but on that one, I agree with him. If you don't own something you buy, then they can't really say that stealing it is a fucking crime because it's just. That's implying that they only own it and they're renting it to you, and I don't think that's fair, especially if it's a case of buying physical media and you buy the physical media and they only issue it as a license to use the content. That's fucking stupid. And yes, I agree with you completely, Ken. You can't shoot your way out without a gun. That's why I carry multiple magazines with me in case I get run afoul of protesters, because I do spend way more time in the Chicagoland area than I actually am happy with, particularly seeking a job right now. Who knows where I'm going to fucking wind up, and if I wind up back in the city, so be it. I've been trying to avoid applying for jobs in Chicago proper because I don't want to deal with this crap, but seeing as we're at like the 3-month mark of Aaron doesn't have a job, I have had to shift my standards and start applying for jobs in Chicago proper, which I'm not enthusiastic about at all, but Aaron needs some friggin' work. So, okay. If that's the last of the comments, I am now going to give you guys a recipe. Feel free to keep chatting during the recipe, and I will look again after I get done telling you guys this, and I will address anything then. This week's recipe is one I got from a member at the club I was the chef at in Chicago. It's a recipe from his mother. It is a cauliflower blue cheese soup. Now, I know not everybody likes blue cheese. You can substitute cheddar or Munster or Gruyere or Swiss, or it's actually I've made it with Munster. It's really good with Munster too. But the blue cheese is not overpowering, and it does counterpoint nicely the rest of the flavors in this recipe. So for this recipe, you're going to need 1 head of cauliflower, coarsely chopped, 3 ribs of diced celery, 1 medium yellow onion, diced, 2 tablespoons of garlic minced, 1/4 teaspoon dried marjoram, 3 quarts of chicken stock, 1 quart of heavy cream, 1 pound of blonde roux. Now, to make 1 pound of blonde roux, you're going to use 8 ounces of flour and 8 ounces of butter. Now, or it can be any fat, but I say butter because butter is better. Now, to make your blonde roux, you melt your fat, or you heat your fat up if you're using oil, and you incorporate the flour and you stir it constantly until it becomes a lovely golden blonde color, hence the name blonde roux. Not dark, not tan, not lightly colored, but not white. So, anyway, you are going to need 3 ounces of crumbled bacon, 4 ounces of blue cheese crumbles, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of chef's salt. Now, I will, that's one of those things that's an industry thing. It's kosher salt, ground black pepper, and a little bit of white pepper mixed together, used just to randomly season stuff. I'll figure out what the ratio is and post that on the page too, so it'll just be there for reference. But yes, 1 tablespoon of chef's salt, which is primarily salt with a little bit of crushed black pepper and a little bit of white pepper in it. And then 3 tablespoons of bacon fat. Now, you can save that bacon fat when you make your bacon crumbles. Cook your bacon, save the fat, use it to cook. All right, so you're going to saute your cauliflower and onions in the bacon fat until they are translucent. The cauliflower is not going to go translucent, obviously. It's white. But the onions will start to turn translucent as you cook them, as they do. That's what onions do. Once the onions are translucent, add your celery, your salt and pepper, and stir it and cook it for about another 1.5 minutes. Cover with chicken stock and simmer until it's tender. Remove half of the vegetables out of it. Just get a slotted spoon and scoop out about half of the vegetables, right? Then you are going to puree what's left in the pot with an immersion blender, or you're going to pour it into a food processor and puree it, or you're going to pour it into a blender and puree it. But you're going to make that half of the fucking vegetables and the stock and puree it so it's a smooth liquid. Then you are going to stir in the blonde roux, and you want to do it and incorporate it. Either stir the living shit out of it so there's no lumps, so it's a nice, even, velvety, smooth consistency. Or you can add some of the liquid into the roux and mix it up so it's more liquidy before you add it in there if you want to make sure there are no fucking lumps. That's a kitchen technique. You make a liaison with your fucking hot liquid and your roux until your roux basically becomes pourable. Then you pour it in and you cook it. Now, you're going to simmer that until it thickens, approximately 15 to 20 minutes, over medium-low heat. And then once it's at the desired thickness of your soup, you will finish it with the heavy cream. Now, this is going to make a gallon of soup. I know it sounds like a lot. That's like a standard soup stock pot full of soup. And it is a lot. It's going to last. If you got 8 people, it's like 2 settings. If you got 4 people, it's going to be like, 4 meals worth or 2 meals worth. But you can put it into a plastic container and freeze it. It will keep for about 7 days. Anyway, so thicken to desired thickness, finish with heavy cream. Add in blue cheese crumbles and reserved roasted vegetables or sauteed vegetables. Okay, you serve it in a bowl. You garnish it with a little bit of blue cheese crumbles and bacon crumbles on the top. And it's a beautiful, lovely thing. Serve it with crusty French bread or crostinis. So that is the recipe this week. It's honestly, like I said, I've got it because one of the members at the club brought it to me, asked me if I could make it because it was his mom's favorite recipe and it was his favorite when he was a kid. And he was a really good member, so I was happy to do things for him. And I just liked it, so it became one of my favorite recipes too because it's delicious. And I happen to like blue cheese. But like I said, you can switch it out. You can do a Gruyere, you can do a Munster, you can do cheddar, white cheddar, yellow cheddar. Doesn't friggin' matter. Just going to change the color of the soup a little bit. But this is it comes out like a nice cream color. Then the bacon really stands out, and you can garnish it with a little chives or a little green onion. It comes out lovely. Here, I'm gonna play a podcast promo.
Join Bruce and Ken on the Weathered Report, where sharp takes, real conversation, and a dose of humor cut through the noise of the week. From classic cars to politics, culture, and the American spirit, no topic is off limits. Every episode brings fresh stories, lively discussion, and the kind of straight talk you won't hear anywhere else. Stay weathered, but never worn down. Catch Bruce and Ken every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, exclusively live on Rumble and YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay, that was a little longer than I thought it was. Now, if I have these buttons labeled properly, that was the Weathered Report, which features Ken and our buddy Bruce, and it's definitely worth listening to. So, you should go check that out. If you're a podcaster and you would like me to run a promo for your show during these things, since I'm going to try and remember to do that going forward, go ahead and make sure I have it. If I don't have it, I will, not be able to play it for now and say that's what I had to say.